Welcome to another version of the Uwin Iwin Breakfast Show. I'm David Sand, CEO of Uwin Iwin International. Today I am in Cape Town and have the privilege of talking to two amazing people that have had global, local experience in all sorts of fields, and I look forward to them sharing their story with you today. Sindiswa and Cecil are co-owners of CalanaMurray Consulting. They are specialists in team coaching, and thank you for joining me today. It's a great honor. I know you have a huge pedigree in the academic world. You yourself are an MBA. Cecil, you've got all sorts of qualifications. Tell me, how did you meet?
Interestingly enough, at the end of 2014, I think, I was recruited to go and work on a short-term project by a Dubai-based consulting company. It was a short assignment in Abu Dhabi. I did not know at the time who the client was, and I met this amazing man. Cecil, South African as well, was the client sponsor for the project, and it was a great 3 months. The project manager on the project asked me before we rolled up the assignment whether I wouldn't want to apply for a vacancy that they had. And I applied, and a couple of months later I was moving abroad, right?
Exactly. And it was just serendipity, I think. I mean, I was so delighted with the work that this consulting company did, and especially with Sindiswa, who was a part of that team delivering a learning program for us, that when she applied, I was just delighted. And then, so we worked together in Abu Dhabi at New York University for almost 5 years, and did a lot of training together and coaching there together, and did our coaching qualifications together as well.
In fact, we did our first team coaching assignment together in Abu Dhabi.
For me and this particular audience of mine, we're really so interested about performance improvement, and what we do as a business is we try and design recognition and reward programs to inspire people to greatness. And what you do, I think, talks to enabling people and teams to really perform at high levels as well. So we're in the same industry, but approaching it from a different perspective.
For sure. So
let's dive into understanding a little bit more about what you do in the team coaching environment.
Mostly organizations, businesses focus on individuals performing really well.
Right.
And they do also reward, which is your work, and that is amazing because incentives structured in the right way really get people to deliver great performance. Very often though, individuals alone might not bring the kind of organizational change, systemic change. They're located in a team or in a relationship system where they've got to relate to other people.
Right.
Because nobody's an island. So that's the space we focus on, is not so much the individual parts of the system, but the whole system,
right.
The whole team. And what's happening between people. What is the culture? What are the dynamics? What are the underlying issues, the invisible, the unsurfaced tensions that might be between them? And work with them to co-create. Well, first of all, get awareness of what they're doing, and then co-create what they want to do.
Fabulous.
Can I add to that?
Absolutely.
So in the work that we do, what we have definitely found is COVID has highlighted little cracks, kind of little fissures that may have been there in terms of how people work together. When employees worked from home, each of us settled into our own rhythms, our own ways of working. And now that we are trying to come together and reshare the workspace, I've now got my own set patterns, you've got your own set patterns, and we are finding that a number of teams are struggling to claim back the culture that they had. People are struggling to work together harmoniously again. Where there were slight disagreements before, they somehow now have become amplified.
Right.
And we're finding this post-COVID. So we are engaging with a number of teams who are just struggling with that teamness.
Yep.
With how do we work together again? Teams are experiencing conflict that seems to be escalating quicker than it did before the pandemic. So the work that we do is focused really on the relationship that exists between colleagues, between team members, rather than the results, rather than the performance. We do fundamentally believe that focusing on how people work together, how they nurture their interdependence, we believe that contributes towards performance and results.
Right.
But that's something that was not focused on pre-COVID.
There are two very key points that come out of these conversations for me already. One is that the focus of performance or success has always been ingested as an individual pursuit. But as you mature in your EQ and IQ, you understand that success is a team charter versus an individual one. And so we often come across the situation of the toxic high performer, and how do we deal with that person and how negative that person is on the team. And a lot of the thinking in the performance improvement space where we come from is not necessarily focused on the top 20 performers. It's the vital 70. And that's the collective, the team approach to a future organization that really performs at its best when you address the team. So there's been a lot of asks of us as a business. How do we shift that reward mindset from just elevating individual performance to elevating team? So I think there's a lot of dialogue that we can do post this interview and nurture, how we do that together in a partnership format. So I'm very excited about that opportunity. The second point that really comes to play for me is the post-COVID dynamic. COVID isolated us from our teams, work from home. We've now come back to a kind of hybrid model where we're very much interested still in, I like my own space. I don't like an open plan environment necessarily sitting in amongst hundreds of people. I'm much more sensitive to, and even as an introvert, believe it or not, I've become more introverted and very selective of the people that I'm prepared to engage with publicly. And that's really interesting for me. And I completely understand that, yes, and I observe it in my own team too. There is this heightened, as you say, the fissures have opened a little bit wider and the conflict level is a little bit more intense. Thank you for joining another version of the Uwin Iwin Breakfast Show. Please, if you're seeing this on one of our social channels, like or subscribe, but best of all, leave us a comment because your voice adds value to this conversation. Following this clip will also be Cecil and Sindiswa's LinkedIn profile, and please look them up, connect with them, and do business with them. They're experts in the field.